Hi, this is Alex Deploy from Expert Forex, and in this video we're going to be looking at the refinement setting. So we've done this side of the table, which is the selection of timeframes and currencies. We've also done the major settings for this particular automated indicator, and we're going to now move on to the refinement side of the table, where we're going to be try and refine the results to get better results. I've just run the basic settings again, and to make sure that we are dealing with the basic settings, and the 779 is our check that is in fact correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the settings again and see if we can improve on that particular figure. Now, I'm not going to worry about using the RSI as an exit or changing the strategy from an upward crossover to a downward crossover. Those are major strategy changes, and I'm not going to change one major strategy for another one. But we're going to now look at using the refinements. And the first refinement that there is the trade after a loss setting. So what that setting says is that once you've made a loss, you can choose to not enter in the same direction again until a transaction is entered in the opposite direction. That makes sure that you're trading in a sideways market and not in a trending market. So let's try that one. At the moment, it's set for a sideways market, and we're going to set it for after loss, the opposite trade has to be made. So I've set that. I'm going to press OK, and we'll run that setting and see if it improves on the result that we have. Okay, it's actually gone worse by quite a lot. So obviously that particular refinement will not work for us. So we can take that off our list and put it back to where it was. Then we've got direction of trade. Now this is where you can change the direction of your trade from if the signal is a buy signal, you can change it to a sell signal. So let's just see what kind of results we get if we reverse the signals. Press OK and start. And it has actually turned into a big loss, so that wasn't a very good refinement, and we can tick that one off our list. So the reverse signal doesn't work. Then the next refinement is actually to move the stop loss to break even after a certain amount of profit. Now, our take profit is 120, so if we set that for 60, so when profit is made up to 60 pips, it will then move the stop to break even. So we use this selection, move stop loss to break even, click on that, move stop loss, and when it goes to 60, it will move the stop to break even. Let's see if that improves the results. So it's a case of experimentation that happens here. We just trying various filters to see if they in fact impact the results. Right, let's see if that did. It didn't. It actually worsened the results, so that is another one off our list. And let's go for then the following stop. So we're going to use a trailing stop. When the transaction is 40 pips in profit, the trailing stop will kick in, and it will increase by, and I'm just going to put numbers in, 5, and the size of the trailing stop will be 40. So after plus 40, a trailing stop kicks in that is 40 in size, and it steps in 5. So if the price then goes to plus 45, then the trailing stop will start trailing. So let's run that particular one, start, and see if a trailing stop makes a difference. All right, that's made a terrible difference. It's actually turned the result into negative, and that is something that I actually find quite often, is the trailing stop is never an asset. So we go back to initial stop loss only. Okay, now we're into the day of the week. So let's try the day of a week. So it is already set up for no entry or entry enabled. And I'm going to click all of those. And then we're going to run them. Now it's going to be quite a long run, and it will then optimize and see if there are any particular days that are causing losses. So we will click OK, and we will start the optimization. So okay, so there's 128 options for this particular transaction. So I'm going to I'll click on start, and let's see how many options go into this particular filter. All right, so there's 128 that go into this one. It says it's going to take 14 minutes to do it. So I'm going to pause the video, and then we can come back in about 14 minutes to see if there's a reason to change the day of the week in which the trading takes place. This test is finally completed, and it took a little bit longer than anticipated, 23 minutes, and it has finished 128 of the tests. So let's have a look at the results. And the results tell us that there's no improvement on the best result that we have achieved. So in effect, it confirms that trading every day of the week is in fact the right option. So again, we can tick that refinement off our list. So let's see what else is left. Essentially what is left is the hours of the day. Can we improve our results using the hours of the day? Now this could take a long time, because if we do the entry hours and the exit hours at the same time, then it'll take a very long time. It'll have roughly 500 options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run the entry hours first on its own. So we're going to run it from 0 with steps of 1, and we're going to run it to 23. So it will run 23 options to see if starting at a particular time makes a difference. So we press OK, and we run that particular test. So that test will take about 4 minutes. Again, I'll stop the video and start it again once the 24 tests have completed. The start time test is completed and ran 24 tests, and the test actually resulted in better results than we have to date. So it looks like all the single digit times are actually fairly good settings for this particular EA, and produce the superior results, the single digit settings. So let's bear that in mind, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set that in the test options, and I'm going to set them here. So from 1 to 9 are good, and in fact 1 produces 802, which is a little bit better than we had before. Let's see, 2 produces 802. So I'm actually going to register that under the settings. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for the until hour. So it will enter from that hour, and it'll enter until that hour. So we're going to do the same test, and this time we'll start with 1, and we'll go to 24, and we'll run that through and see if that by chance brings through better results. Optimization, and it should also run for about 5 minutes. Strange, this one seems like it will run a little bit faster. The until test is completed, and let's go and have a look at what the results were. And essentially what the results are that the highest income comes from keeping the trading times as high as possible. So 21, 22, 23, 24 hours. And if you remember back to the opening times were the best. So essentially, it's only added another $30 to the best result that we have. You need to consider whether it's worth changing that particular setting. The only change one would make is you wouldn't have hour 0 and hour 1 as a setting. So you would not have, and we could actually change that, you would not have hour 0 and hour 1. So you would run from 2 to 9, and this one would run from 20 to 24. So those are the only changes. So the application of filters has been so marginal that it almost does not warrant a change in the general settings. If we now run the settings again without optimization, we should get a result of 802. Yes, and we have an 802. So we've improved our settings marginally by doing refinement. Let's have a look at the rest of the settings. Make sure that we've covered all the refinement settings. All the days of the week, all the times of the day, trailing stops, and we have done break-even stops. We've done that. Oh, the other one that we haven't done here is the number of open trades. So let's test up to 4 open trades. So we're going to go 1 open trade with a step of 1 up until 4 and for the buy, and 1 open trade with step of 1 to 4 for the sell. So we've got 4 options times 4, that's 16 options that we're going to be testing. And let's run that and see if that makes a difference, if we allow more than 1 open entry at a time. Okay, and this is an optimization exercise, and we start it. It'll take 3 minutes, so again I'll stop the video and start it again once the test is complete. The number of open deal tests have been completed, and I'm looking at the results, and they have made considerable improvement on the original results that we've had. The only problem with these results is that they are highly skewed in one direction. For instance, this one says you can have 5 maximum open buys but only 1 maximum open sell. So you are favoring one direction over the other. I would tend to disregard readings like that give you a bias in a particular direction, and go for the first reading where there's a balance between the buys and the sells. And here's one with a balance where there's 1 buy and 1 sell recommended, and in fact that's the setting that I would go for in this particular case. Now, just another little trick is that if you like a setting like that particular one, which I'm just highlighted, what you do is you right click it and click on set input parameters. So it will actually take the settings for that particular reading and input them into your value column. So if you do run the automated indicator right now, you will get the results shown, which is the 802 result. So we have improved the results fractionally from 779 to 802, only $20, and but I think you've seen the process that I followed to use the filters to see if we can get better results. Be careful to jump at any results that are better, because you need to understand that you need to keep a balance between buy and sell transactions, so we don't want to throw those balances out of place. Okay, so let's move on to the next video.